What would happen if I parked this van in the desert, turned the air conditioner on, locked the door, and came back 100 days later? Now, there's no shore power, no generator, there's no power hookups of any kind, and nobody's touching any controls. Most people know exactly what would happen. The battery would die, the AC would shut off, and eventually the inside of the van would become an oven in the heat of the sun. But here's the interesting part. None of that would happen. In fact, I know this van would still be comfortable all day for 100 days straight. Even if I set the thermostat to 72 degrees Fahrenheit, the battery would still be at 100% at some point on the 100th day. And the reason why has almost nothing to do with the AC itself. You can't do what I'm about to tell you in a van that's already built, so you will have to rebuild your van if you want to do this. Let's get to it though. Imagine you just finished building out your future van home. You get to sunny Florida on your first real trip and everything is going great, but then a super hot day comes along and you're forced to make a decision. Should you leave Florida or should you sleep in your own sweat, huddling under your MaxxAir fan? Today I want to show you what I think is one of the most overlooked ideas in van life. Something that anyone can do, but no one ever does until now, because as far as I know, this is the world's first van where the AC runs forever without having to plug into power of any type. No generator, nothing, just solar. You can do this so easily with honestly very little money. But after living in this van for years, I've become convinced that most builders are just focusing on the wrong things. They focus on the bigger batteries. They focus on more solar and bigger electrical systems. And while all those things do matter, I think they're missing the single most important part of the entire build. Right now, the van has just been sitting outside in direct sunlight. Nobody's touched anything. The system has just been managing itself. I've got thermometers monitoring the outside, the inside, and even the refrigerator temperature. And we can also see exactly what's happening with the battery system. So let's take a look. So it's an 80-degree day out. I have the AC set to 72 right now. This door is about 70 degrees. And then if I open up the front and measure, let's just say the seat right here, it's about 120 degrees. The system is staying comfortable because the van is gaining heat slowly enough that the AC can keep up without working very hard. And that's the big idea. So if it isn't the AC, the battery, or the solar, then what is it? The answer is something almost nobody gets excited about during a van build. It's insulation with minimal thermal gaps. And once you understand that idea, everything else about this van starts to make sense. The goal was to build a van that barely needs air conditioning in the first place. So what makes this van different? Well, when somebody shows off a van build, they're usually talking about the floor plan, the cabinetry, the shower, the battery bank, the solar system, the electronics, the gadgets, the things that look cool on camera. And don't get me wrong, I love all that stuff. But there's one part of the build that almost nobody gets excited about, because once it's installed, you'll never see it again. It's hidden behind the walls, it's in the ceiling, and it's under the floor. And because it's invisible, most people underestimate how important it is. My philosophy has always been simple. You reduce the problem before you try to solve that problem. Instead of asking, how do I make more power? You ask, how do I need less power? And instead of asking, how do I make a bigger air conditioner? You ask, how do I stop the heat from getting inside the van in the first place? Because every single watt of heat that never enters the van is a watt that never has to be removed from the battery. And that's where what I call the AC efficiency triangle comes in. For the system to work, three things have to work together. You have solar, battery, and insulation. Most builders only focus on the first two. They'll spend thousands of dollars on batteries and thousands of dollars on solar, and then insulation becomes an afterthought. But insulation is what makes the other two work. It's the force multiplier. It's the part that makes every other system more effective. And that's why I designed this van differently. So let's talk about what that actually looks like. This van has roughly 5 inches thick of insulation surrounding most parts of the living area, not just in one spot, almost everywhere. The ceiling has 3 inches, the walls have 5 inches, and the floor has 1.5 inches. And the ceiling, walls, and floor are all overlapped where the insulation comes together. So in the corners, it looks like this, and in the bottom corners, it also looks like this. And just as important as the insulation itself, I spent a lot of time trying to eliminate thermal gaps because insulation thickness is only part of the equation. If heat can sneak around it through cracks, gaps, or exposed surfaces, you lose efficiency. So the goal became simple: create a thermal shell around the living space. It's a shell that makes it difficult for heat to get in and difficult for cool air to get out. The ceiling is one of the biggest priorities because that's where a huge amount of heat enters a vehicle. The sun beats down on the roof all day long. And then I started looking at the weak points because every insulated structure has weak points. And in a van, one of the biggest weak points is glass. The windows were one of the biggest challenges in the entire build because no matter how much insulation you put into a wall, glass is still glass. So instead of relying on one solution, I attacked the problem from multiple directions. First, the windows are tinted, reducing about 80% of the UV rays. Then on the outside, I installed white perforated vinyl to reflect some of the sunlight before it reaches the glass, which I believe reduces about 50% more of the UV rays. And on the inside, I added insulated curtains with reflective backing, which basically bounces the radiant heat right back out. So the windows are not solved by one magic layer. They're handled by a combination of layers. First tint, then white vinyl, and then reflective insulated curtains. And every layer helps. But there's an even bigger source of heat than the side windows. It's the front cab. If you've ever gotten into a vehicle that's been sitting in the sun, you already know exactly what I'm talking about. The windshield turns into a giant solar collector. The steering wheel gets hot, the seats get hot, everything becomes hot magma. And most fans have that heat directly connected to the living space. I didn't want that, so I treated the cab like a separate room. Between the cab and the living space is an insulated divider. Roughly 3 inches of insulation here due to building limitations on the doorway and cabinetry. I put weather stripping around the door to reduce the convection type heat transfer and careful attention to the small gaps where heat likes to sneak through. I put in spray foam and wool everywhere I felt heat was coming in and used a thermometer to test this. I did something similar from my back door as well. I put 2 types of weather strips that act like a zipper in the middle when the door is shut. The goal wasn't perfection. It was to reduce heat transfer as much as possible. And this is where the difference really becomes obvious. So the compressor just shut off, doing its cooling. This door right now is at 73. And then outside, just pointed at that car, it's been in the sun. It's about 108. These 2 spaces are only a few inches apart, yet they behave like completely different environments. Now let's talk about the air conditioner itself. The air conditioner isn't some secret prototype. It's not custom built, it's not experimental. It's one of the most common air conditioners used in van builds today. It's the Dometic RTX 2000. And that's important because it proves this isn't about some magical piece of equipment nobody else can buy. Thousands of people have access to this exact same air conditioner. The difference is the environment it's operating in. So let's stop talking theory and look at what the AC is actually doing. One of the things I really like about this unit is the airflow. You can actually feel the cool air moving across your skin. And that matters more than people think because comfort isn't just a number on the thermometer. It's what the space actually feels like. Most people imagine an AC running at full power all day long, fighting the heat and burning through electricity. But that's not really what happens here. Right, here's my battery data. There's the power in watts in blue and state of charge in yellow. And you can see in the yellow, every day it goes back up to 100%. And the watts in blue are up and down, turning on and off with the AC. And this is over a 14-day period. And you can see the last 2 days have been down a little bit just because I've been working on this video a lot more recently. So I have the desktop on as well. All day, the system is simply maintaining comfort. My air conditioner is usually left in auto mode. I don't spend my day adjusting settings. I don't spend my day managing temperatures. The system manages itself. It turns on when it gets a few degrees above the set point, and then it waits. And that waiting period is where a huge amount of efficiency comes from. The insulation is basically buying the air conditioner time. And that's one of the reasons this system works so well, even when conditions aren't perfect. Take cloudy weather, for example. A lot of people hear solar-powered air conditioning and immediately assume cloudy days must be a problem. But something interesting happens when clouds show up. Yes, solar production goes down, but cooling demand also goes down. The sun isn't pounding on the van when it's cloudy. Outdoor temperatures are usually lower. Heat gain drops. And because the van is heavily insulated, it holds temperatures extremely well. Now let's talk about something that's even more important than temperature: comfort. Because temperature and comfort are not the same thing. And I think that this is another area where a lot of people get misled. If I tell you it's 80 degrees inside the van, most people immediately imagine just being super hot, maybe even uncomfortable, but that's not necessarily what it feels like, because comfort isn't determined by temperature alone. Air movement matters, surface temperatures matter, humidity matters, and this van benefits from all of those things. Sometimes when I'm sitting under this AC and it's set to 78 degrees, I still have to turn it up because it's too cold to want to sit on my desktop computer to work. The airflow from the RTX 2000 creates a cooling effect that's difficult to communicate with a thermometer. You feel cooler than the number suggests. I said that like Stewie Griffin. Whip. The result is that the van can sometimes read 76, 77, and even 80 degrees and still feel incredibly comfortable, closer to what most people would associate a much cooler room would be. What would you say again, Tisha?
I said it's cold in here. It's freezing.
And because the temperature remains relatively even throughout this living space, there aren't really hot zones that you're constantly trying to avoid. The comfort feels constant. And honestly, that's what I care about. Not chasing some specific number on a thermostat, but comfort, because this is my real life. I live in here full time. When you're uncomfortable in a van, temperature controls your entire day. You park based on shade. You plan your errands around the heat. You avoid being inside during certain hours. You worry about whether you're going to sleep. And if you live in a van full time, that gets old fast. I know from my first van. I had this van in Florida. I had it in the hot, humid conditions. It's always sitting in the sun. And one of the most valuable parts of this build is that I can go inside, close the door, and it actually feels like a controlled living space, not a vehicle that's slowly turning into an oven, a room. A small room, but a real room. And sleeping is probably the best example, because if you've ever spent time around van life, you've probably heard people say things like, you just get used to the heat, or summer nights are part of the lifestyle, or that's just van life. I don't want to accept that, and I didn't. I didn't want to wake up in the middle of the night covered in sweat. I wanted a mobile off-grid house, the same kind of comfort people expect from a real brick and mortar home. The question is whether it actually works and if you can make it work for yourself in your own van. And the answer is easily yes. Now let's talk about cost for a second, because I know somebody is going to ask. Keep in mind just how much more you would spend for a house or an apartment. The Dometic RTX 2000 was roughly $2,300 because I bought it wholesale. The battery system was around $2,000 for 600 amp hours of lithium iron phosphate. The solar system cost around $1,200 for 800 watts. But you could easily get away with half of the battery and half of the solar that I have and still get exactly what I'm doing here. I'm almost always 100% charged and my panels aren't even producing like new. The installation costs around $1,500, and that's for the sheep's wool and quite a few XPS boards from Home Depot. And then the supporting components, the wiring, the charge controller, the little things that make the whole system actually work together. But I think the important lesson isn't the exact number. The important lesson is where the money was spent, because it changes comfort. Remember that 100-day desert question? What would happen if I parked this van in the desert, turned on the air conditioner, locked the door, and came back 100 days later? Well, obviously I haven't actually run that exact experiment, but based on everything I know that I've learned from living in this van, I know what would happen. The AC would keep doing its thing. The heater would step in whenever the temperatures dropped below the set point, and the solar would continue replacing the energy being used constantly day after day. And the insulation would keep protecting all of it, working quietly in the background the same way it always has. And understanding that the most efficient energy is the energy that you actually never have to use in the first place. That's why insulation is king. And that's why after years of living in this van, I still believe the most important thing I ever built is the part that nobody can see. What's up, guys? I post a lot of videos on how to live van life and how I build them. If you want to see my full van tour, click here. Please consider subscribing to this channel, giving a comment below. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you guys in my next video. Peace.
We can sleep under the stars, we can sleep under the stars, or hang out in hotel bars, driving somewhere in your car.